can feel myself starting to sweat, and it feels quite humiliating and degrading.
Maximum security prison appears as a symbol of punishment and isolation, where the toughest female prisoners face unimaginable challenges.
You know, that puts you at great risk, and that is really scary.
The oppressive environment, coupled with harsh living conditions, violence, and the loss of identity, takes a devastating toll on the women incarcerated within its walls. Join us as we take you on a tour of the most formidable correctional facility for women in the world. Kajang Women's Prison, Malaysia. While criminal acts are often associated with men, it is essential to recognize that women are capable of ruthless and notorious crimes as well. However, due to their mysterious nature, discussions surrounding the reformation of female prisoners in Malaysia have been surprisingly infrequent. Let's delve into the challenges faced by these women, their offenses, healthcare predicaments, and the unique circumstances of motherhood within the prison walls. The Malaysian Prison Department operates 20 institutions across the country to house female inmates, but only 3 are exclusively dedicated to them. Shockingly, in 2021, there were 3,652 female inmates, comprising 5.9% of the total prison population. Among these, a significant proportion of 52% were foreign nationals convicted of immigration offenses. Disturbingly, Malaysia has a percentage of 10 female prisoners on death row compared to the global average. In 2019, a staggering 95% of women sentenced to death were convicted of drug-related crimes, surpassing the percentage for male inmates. Notably, foreign national females faced higher death sentence rates, 86%, than their male counterparts, 29%, with the majority of them involved in drug trafficking. These foreign nationals hailed from countries like Thailand, Indonesia, the Philippines, Iran, and China. The healthcare services for female prisoners in Malaysia mirror those available in other clinics under the Ministry of Health. However, the absence of in-house psychiatrists often results in delayed psychiatric treatment. A study conducted on 80 convicted female offenders revealed alarming statistics. 33.8% had a lifetime prevalence of mental disorders, with an even higher 6-month prevalence of 62.5%. Substance use disorder and antisocial personality disorder were distressingly common. Adding to the woes, female prisoners sentenced to death lack access to specialized healthcare services, including gynecologists. Hygiene and sanitary products are insufficient, forcing them to purchase additional supplies. It's a harsh reality these women endure. The journey of motherhood takes an entirely different trajectory within the prison walls. Pregnant female prisoners receive monitoring during their trimesters, but the challenges arise when it's time to deliver. Limited movement makes the delivery process more difficult for some. Newborns and babies receive essential items from relatives and prison authorities, although they are usually in small quantities. Mothers are allowed to breastfeed their infants until they reach the age of 2. In newer prisons, dedicated spaces cater to breastfeeding mothers, while in older facilities, fellow inmates step in to care for the babies. However, postnatal care remains a concern, with inadequate nutrition and limited opportunities to practice postpartum rituals. Female inmates are granted the privilege of bringing their children under the age of 3 into prison, subject to approval from the head director. But as the child turns 3, the responsibility of caregiving shifts to the next of kin. In cases where no suitable caregiver is available, the child may be sent to social welfare. However, there are exceptional cases where the head director allows inmates to continue caring for their children beyond the age of 3. The struggles faced by female prisoners in Malaysia demand urgent attention and reform efforts. The mental health needs of these women must be addressed promptly, with improved access to specialized health care. Adequate maternal care and postnatal support should be provided, ensuring nutrition and the opportunity to practice postpartum rituals. Additionally, the welfare of children in prison, including education and overall well-being, should be prioritized. By confronting these challenges head-on, Malaysia can pave the way for a more compassionate and rehabilitative system, recognizing the rights and dignity of female prisoners. Tadmur Prison, Syria. Syria's notorious Tadmur prison echoes with a chilling phrase, "We are God. Your life and death are under our control." This summarizes the inhumane policies and practices that political prisoners, including women, have endured under the Syrian regime. From the late 70s and early 80s, when a political movement opposing Ba'ath rule emerged, to the present day, the regime's security forces have unleashed terror and torture upon its citizens. Female members of the Community Action League, who participated in the opposition movement, faced interrogation, detention, and unimaginable physical and psychological abuse. Often, their arrest was a means to pressure their male relatives or to hold them hostage. Despite the glimmer of hope brought by the Arab Spring and the Syrian Revolution in 2011, the regime continued its oppressive tactics, targeting and detaining prominent women activists and their relatives. A systematic campaign of arrests aimed to suppress the revolution and prevent its progress. Women activists across different ideological, political, and sectarian affiliations became targets. They were subjected to insults, physical torture, and sexual assault to extract confessions or to pressure their families. Detention in solitary confinement or with one other woman meant enduring beatings, electric shocks, and the degrading al-Shabaab, suspension from the ceiling. Psychological abuse and extortion were also rampant, with detainees used as leverage against their loved ones. Upon release, new chapters of suffering unfolds. Female detainees faced societal stigma, becoming outcasts in their communities. Their educational and professional pursuits get shattered, and their reputations are also tarnished. Also, there has been series of sexual abuse in prison, which often led to rejection by family members and potential suitors. Psychological scars, such as depression, anxiety, and fear, persist, affecting their relationships and self-perception. Sadly, these issues receive inadequate support from institutions and organizations focused on psychological well-being. While the regime's torture prisons are the most common sites of female detention, opposition-held areas have also witnessed arrests of journalists and activists. Violations within these prisons vary depending on the dominant factions. The Syrian Network for Human Rights reported that thousands of women and girls have been subjected to detentions and enforced disappearances by various actors in the conflict. Despite international and regional pressure, the Syrian regime remains unaccountable for its crimes. The United Nations Security Council's inaction, in the face of heinous massacres, perpetuates the regime's impunity. Regional mediators occasionally achieve prisoner exchanges, but these successes are exceptions. Countless women languish without hope of release. International covenants emphasize prisoners' rights to humane treatment, particularly tailored provisions for women. However, the conditions in Syrian detention facilities are among the world's worst. International organizations advocating for human rights, especially women's rights, must intensify their efforts to protect Syrian women and ensure their rights. The plight of Syrian women who have been detained, tortured, and humiliated remains a difficult and under-addressed issue. Fear of social stigma, lack of trust in international organizations, and the regime's relentless oppression contribute to the silence surrounding their suffering. As Syria's women bear the consequences of detention alone, it is crucial to shed light on their plight and work towards a future where their rights are safeguarded and their voices heard. Chikurubi, Maximum Security Prison, Zimbabwe. Hidden within the borders of Zimbabwe lies a prison that strikes fear into the hearts of even the most hardened criminals. Chikurubi, Maximum Security Prison. This formidable institution, known for its strict regulations and unforgiving environment, has gained a notorious reputation as one of the toughest female prisons in the world. Within its walls, women face immense challenges, both physical and psychological, as they navigate the harsh realities of incarceration. Chikurubi Maximum Security Prison stands as a fortress, designed to keep its captives securely locked away from the outside world. With towering concrete walls, barbed wire fences, and vigilant guards, it presents a formidable barrier to escape. The very sight of Chikurubi strikes fear into the hearts of those who dare to defy the law, earning it a reputation as a place of ultimate punishment and isolation. Inside the prison, the lives of female inmates are marked by the weight of confinement. The strict rules and regulations leave little room for personal freedom. Inmates are confined to small, overcrowded cells where every move is monitored. The lack of privacy, combined with the constant presence of other inmates, intensifies the stress and strains on their mental well-being. Chikurubi's harsh living conditions exacerbate the daily struggles faced by its female inmates. Limited access to basic necessities, such as clean water, proper sanitation, and adequate health care, poses serious health risks. Overcrowding amplifies the risks of disease transmission and makes maintaining personal hygiene a tremendous challenge. The absence of proper nutrition further weakens the physical and mental resilience of the inmates. Within the confines of Chikurubi, female inmates are exposed to a heightened risk of violence and abuse. The power dynamics among prisoners often lead to conflicts and altercations, resulting in physical confrontations and emotional trauma. The absence of effective mechanisms to address these issues leaves many women vulnerable and without recourse for protection. Incarceration at Chikurubi takes a heavy toll on the identity and dignity of female inmates. Separated from their families and communities, they become marginalized and isolated. The stigma attached to imprisonment further compounds their sense of alienation. Limited opportunities for education, skill development, and rehabilitation perpetuate a cycle of hopelessness and despair. While Chikurubi Maximum Security Prison's harsh reputation persists, efforts are underway to improve conditions and promote rehabilitation. Initiatives aimed at providing education, vocational training, and mental health support offer glimmers of hope for incarcerated women. Advocacy groups and organizations are working tirelessly to raise awareness about the challenges faced by female inmates and to advocate for their rights. Julia, Tutwiler, Alabama. Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women, located in Wetumpka, Alabama, is a maximum security facility that houses female inmates of the Alabama Department of Corrections. It also serves as Alabama's female death row. The prison has a long history, with construction completed in December 1942, replacing the previous Wetumpka State Penitentiary. Tutwiler gained notoriety for the disturbing and pervasive issue of sexual abuse and harassment of inmates by prison staff. On January 2014, the United States Department of Justice released a report detailing their investigation into the allegations. The report found that the state of Alabama violated the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution by failing to protect women prisoners at Tutwiler from harm due to sexual abuse and harassment by correctional staff. The report revealed a deeply troubling environment at Tutwiler where women universally feared for their safety. Instances of abusive sexual contact, sexualized activity, profane and unprofessional sexualized language, and deliberate cross-gender viewing of prisoners were prevalent. Despite being repeatedly notified about the problems, officials at the Alabama Department of Corrections and Tutwiler had failed to remedy the systemic causes of harm and demonstrated deliberate indifference to the substantial risk of harm to women prisoners. For almost 2 decades, the staff at Tutwiler had been sexually abusing and harassing women prisoners with impunity. Cases of forced intimacy, sodomy, fondling, and exposure were reported. Staff members engaged in voyeurism, forcing women to disrobe and watching them while they showered or used the toilet. Despite being aware of the sexual abuse and harassment, prison officials failed to take appropriate action to curb the misconduct, even when federal statistical analysis identified Tutwiler as having one of the highest rates of sexual misconduct in the country. In response to the deeply troubling situation at Tutwiler, Alabama Governor Robert Bentley announced in his State of the State speech on February 2nd, 2016, that the prison would be closed as part of a comprehensive transformation of the prison system. The plan included the construction of new facilities. But, as of 2020, Tutwiler Prison remains open, and the process of transformation has yet to be fully implemented. The case of Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women highlights the urgent need for reform and the protection of women prisoners in the Alabama correctional system. The sexual abuse and harassment experienced by the inmates reveal a gross violation of their rights and a failure of the system to ensure their safety and well-being. It is essential to address these systemic issues, hold accountable those responsible for the abuse, and create an environment that upholds human dignity, safety, and rehabilitation. In the wake of the shocking revelations of sexual abuse and harassment at Tutwiler Prison, significant efforts have been made to tackle the issue head-on and bring about much-needed change. The first crucial step was the in-depth investigation conducted by the United States Department of Justice. This investigation shed light on the extent of the problem and provided a comprehensive report detailing the systemic failures that allowed the abuse to persist. The report served as a wake-up call, exposing the urgent need for reform. In response, the Alabama Department of Corrections enacted a series of policy reforms aimed at addressing the issue. These reforms included revised policies on reporting and investigating allegations of sexual misconduct, enhanced training for staff members, and measures to prevent retaliation against those who come forward with information. To ensure accountability, staff members received specialized training programs emphasizing a zero-tolerance approach to sexual abuse, harassment, and misconduct. The goal was to instill a culture of professionalism, compassion, and respect within the prison walls. Those staff members found guilty of engaging in such behavior faced disciplinary measures and, in some cases, criminal prosecution. Recognizing the importance of external oversight, independent monitors or auditors were brought in to ensure that the reforms were being implemented effectively and that compliance was maintained. This external oversight helps ensure transparency, accountability, and continuous improvement. Another crucial aspect of addressing the issue has been providing support for survivors. Tutwiler Prison has implemented measures to offer survivors of abuse access to counseling services, medical assistance, and legal aid. Victim advocates have been assigned to guide survivors through the process, protect their rights, and assist them in their journey towards healing and recovery. Collaboration with advocacy groups and experts in the field has been instrumental in developing and implementing reforms. By working together, the Alabama Department of Corrections and these organizations have gained valuable insights and guidance, ensuring that the reforms address the complex issues surrounding sexual abuse and harassment in correctional settings. While progress has undoubtedly been made, it is important to recognize that eradicating sexual abuse and harassment requires consistent and committed action. Tutwiler Prison and other correctional facilities must remain vigilant, continuously monitoring and evaluating policies and practices to prioritize the safety, dignity, and well-being of incarcerated women. Only through persistent effort can lasting change be achieved. Cresty Prison, Russia. Constructed in the late 18th century, it was initially designed to house petty criminals and debtors. Cresty Prison, located in St. Petersburg, Russia, holds a significant place in the country's history of incarceration. Over time, Cresty evolved into a maximum security facility, accommodating a diverse range of inmates, including those convicted of serious crimes. The prison's architecture reflects its oppressive ambiance. Its massive stone walls rise high into the sky, creating an aura of intimidation and seclusion. The interior is a labyrinthine maze of narrow corridors and dimly lit cells, creating a sense of confinement and isolation that lingers in the air. Cresty's imposing facade and strict security measures have contributed to its reputation as a symbol of punishment and control. The living conditions within Cresty Prison are notoriously harsh. Overcrowding remains a persistent issue, with cells designed to accommodate a fraction of the number of inmates they hold. This leads to severe congestion, with prisoners often forced to share limited space, sleep on the floor, and endure cramped quarters for prolonged periods. The lack of adequate sanitation facilities, clean water, and proper ventilation further exacerbates the challenging living conditions. Inmates at Cresty Prison face a constant battle for survival, both physically and mentally. The prison environment is characterized by a culture of violence, where power struggles, gang violence, and organized crime syndicates operate within its walls. This creates an atmosphere of fear and danger, with inmates often having to navigate treacherous dynamics to protect themselves and maintain a semblance of safety. The loss of identity and hope is a common theme among those incarcerated in Cresty. Separated from their families and communities, inmates often experience a profound sense of isolation and alienation. The stigma associated with imprisonment further compounds their emotional burden, making it challenging to reintegrate into society upon release. Limited access to educational and rehabilitation programs hampers their prospects for personal growth and rehabilitation, leading to a cycle of recidivism. Efforts to reform the Russian prison system, including Cresty, have been ongoing. Organizations and activists have advocated for improved living conditions, increased access to education and vocational training, and the implementation of rehabilitation programs. These efforts aim to address the systemic issues that perpetuate the harsh realities faced by inmates and promote an environment conducive to their successful reintegration into society. While Cresty Prison continues to be regarded as a place of strict discipline and arduous confinement, the push for reform signals a growing recognition of the need for a more compassionate and rehabilitative approach. By shedding light on the experiences within Cresty, there is hope for a future where the prison system promotes not only punishment, but also opportunities for redemption, personal growth, and the restoration of human dignity. Rikers Island Correctional Facility, United States. Rikers Island Correctional Facility is one of the largest and most notorious correctional facilities in the United States, known for its complex jail system and the challenges it presents to both inmates and the criminal justice system as a whole. Like other prisons mentioned earlier, Rikers Island didn't shy away from overcrowding, with the facility often operating above its intended capacity. The sheer volume of inmates, coupled with limited resources and infrastructure, exacerbates the already challenging living conditions. Inmates are frequently housed in cramped and overcrowded cells, leading to heightened tensions, an increased risk of violence, and a lack of privacy. The culture of violence and abuse within Rikers Island has been a persistent concern. Reports of assaults on inmates by both fellow inmates and correctional officers have surfaced over the years, shedding light on the pervasive nature of violence within the facility. The use of excessive force, inadequate supervision, and a lack of accountability have contributed to a cycle of abuse and trauma for those incarcerated at Rikers. The mental health challenges faced by inmates at Rikers Island are a pressing issue. Many individuals entering the facility already suffer from mental health conditions, and the stressful and dehumanizing environment can exacerbate their struggles. Despite efforts to improve mental health services, resources remain limited, and access to appropriate care is often insufficient, leading to a cycle of untreated mental health issues within the facility. Rikers Island's impact extends beyond the walls of the facility. The disproportionate impact on marginalized communities, particularly people of color and those from low-income backgrounds, has raised concerns about systemic biases within the criminal justice system. Individuals held in pre-trial detention may spend prolonged periods at Rikers, sometimes for minor offenses, due to challenges in accessing legal representation and the cash bail system, perpetuating inequities in the system. In recent years, there has been a growing movement advocating for the closure of Rikers Island and the implementation of alternative approaches to incarceration. The goal is to shift towards smaller, community-based facilities that prioritize rehabilitation, mental health support, and restorative justice practices. The closure plan involves reducing the inmate population, improving conditions, and investing in community programs as alternatives to incarceration. In 2019, the New York City Council approved a plan to close Rikers Island by 2026. The plan includes building smaller, borough-based jails and implementing criminal justice reforms aimed at reducing the overall number of individuals in custody. The intention is to create a more humane and effective system that focuses on rehabilitation, reducing recidivism rates, and addressing the underlying issues that contribute to criminal behavior. While the closure of Rikers Island represents a step towards reforming the New York City criminal justice system, the challenges ahead are significant. It will require sustained efforts to address systemic issues, invest in community resources, and ensure that the new facilities prioritize the well-being and dignity of those in custody. The ultimate aim is to create a system that promotes justice, fairness, and successful reintegration into society for individuals who have been incarcerated. Now, it's time for today's subscriber's pick. In this powerful and unsettling picture, the visual impact is undeniable. Female prisoners, their identities concealed by the uniformity of orange jumpsuits, are bound together by chains. The chains, a stark symbol of control and confinement, extend between them, linking them in a straight line. The weight of the chains is palpable, their presence a physical reminder of the loss of freedom and agency experienced by those within the prison system. The image raises troubling questions about the treatment of incarcerated individuals and the potential for brutality and inhumanity within the system. The straight-line formation suggests a dehumanizing attempt to strip away individuality and reduce these women to mere objects, denying them the autonomy and dignity that every person deserves. The orange jumpsuits, a common sight in many correctional facilities, further contribute to the dehumanization. They serve as a visual marker, distinguishing the prisoners from the outside world and reinforcing the power dynamics at play. Despite the harshness of this image, the picture also reveals subtle nuances. The expressions on the faces of the women might convey a range of emotions, from resignation and weariness to determination and resilience. These nuanced expressions remind us that behind the dehumanizing aspects of the female prison system, there are individuals with complex lives, hopes, and struggles. This image serves as a call to confront the brutality and inhumanity present within the prison system. It challenges viewers to consider the impact of such practices on the lives of those who are incarcerated, urging us to question the effectiveness and ethics of systems that rely on such methods of control. This photograph invites us to reflect on our collective responsibility to seek justice, compassion, and dignity for all individuals, regardless of their circumstances. It prompts us to engage in meaningful conversations about the need for criminal justice reform and to work towards a system that prioritizes rehabilitation, humanity, and the potential for redemption. Tell us in the comment section what you think about this image. Los Angeles County Jail, United States. All evidence shows guards and medics in Los Angeles County Jail are supposed to be in jail rather than working there. To delve deeper into why the conditions at Los Angeles County Jail are particularly harrowing for female inmates, it's essential to explore the intersection of gender, systemic issues, and the specific challenges faced by women in incarceration settings. While the facility itself houses both male and female inmates, the unique and often more severe impact on women merits a focused discussion. Overcrowding is a critical issue in many U.S. jails, but its effects are particularly severe on female inmates. Los Angeles County Jail, being one of the largest jail systems, faces chronic overcrowding, leading to shortages in essential resources. Women, especially, suffer in overcrowded conditions, facing heightened risks of violence, sexual assault, and exploitation. The lack of space exacerbates stress, mental health issues, and conflict among inmates. Moreover, overcrowded conditions significantly hinder personal hygiene and privacy, aspects that are particularly distressing for women, affecting their dignity and well-being. Violence is endemic in many jail settings, but female inmates at Los Angeles County Jail face unique vulnerabilities. The power imbalance within jails can lead to sexual abuse and exploitation by both staff and other inmates. The fear of retribution often silences victims, preventing many from reporting abuse. This silence is compounded by a systemic lack of accountability, where allegations of abuse are not thoroughly investigated and perpetrators rarely face consequences. Such an environment not only perpetuates abuse, but also significantly impacts the mental health of the victims. Healthcare within Los Angeles County Jail is critically underfunded and understaffed, leading to inadequate medical care for inmates. Women have specific health needs, particularly regarding reproductive and maternal health care, which are often not adequately met. Access to prenatal and postnatal care is limited, and there are numerous reports of women not receiving timely medical assistance during emergencies related to pregnancy and childbirth. Moreover, the jail's environment, lacking in hygiene and proper nutrition, further jeopardizes women's health. The mental health needs of female inmates are profound and complex. Many women enter the jail system with pre-existing mental health conditions, often resulting from trauma such as domestic violence, sexual abuse, and addiction. The jail environment, with its inherent stressors, can exacerbate these conditions. Yet, mental health services in Los Angeles County Jail are woefully inadequate, with limited access to psychiatric care and counseling. This neglect can lead to a deterioration in mental health, making reintegration into society more challenging upon release. Women incarcerated in jails like Los Angeles County Jail are often primary caregivers for their children. Their incarceration disrupts family structures, leading to negative outcomes for children, including emotional distress, academic challenges, and increased likelihood of entering the criminal justice system themselves. The impact of a mother's incarceration extends beyond the individual, affecting the well-being and stability of families and communities at large. The dire conditions faced by female inmates at Los Angeles County Jail highlight systemic issues within the U.S. incarceration system. These challenges, ranging from overcrowding and violence to inadequate health care and the neglect of mental health and reproductive rights, underscore the urgent need for reform. Addressing these issues requires a multifaceted approach, including policy changes, increased funding for inmate services, and a shift towards rehabilitation over punishment. Only through comprehensive reform can the rights and dignity of female inmates be protected, promoting a more just and humane correctional system. San Quentin State Prison, United States. Over the years, San Quentin has faced significant challenges related to overcrowding. The prison was originally designed to hold around 3,000 inmates, but at times, it has housed more than double that number. The overpopulation has strained the facility's resources, leading to issues such as limited access to healthcare, increased violence, and heightened tensions among inmates. San Quentin State Prison, located in Marin County, California, has a notable place in the history of the American criminal justice system. It has served as a focal point for discussions surrounding incarceration, rehabilitation, and the death penalty. Despite these challenges, San Quentin has been recognized for its efforts to promote rehabilitation and education. The prison offers a range of programs aimed at equipping inmates with skills and knowledge to improve their prospects upon release. Educational opportunities include adult basic education, high school equivalency programs, and college courses. Vocational training programs in fields such as construction, auto mechanics, and computer coding are also available. These initiatives aim to address the underlying factors that contribute to criminal behavior and reduce the likelihood of reoffending. San Quentin has also been notable for its role in capital punishment. Until 2019, when Governor Gavin Newsom issued a moratorium on executions, the prison housed the state's death row and was the site of California's execution chamber. The administration of the death penalty has been a subject of controversy, with ongoing legal and ethical debates surrounding its use and effectiveness as a deterrent. Healthcare and mental health services within San Quentin have faced criticism over the years. Concerns have been raised regarding the quality of medical care provided to inmates, including issues related to the handling of infectious diseases, chronic conditions, and access to timely and appropriate treatment. Mental health services have also struggled to meet the complex needs of incarcerated individuals, often due to limited resources and insufficient staffing levels. Advocacy and reform efforts have been integral to the discourse surrounding San Quentin State Prison. Activists, organizations, and lawmakers have called for improvements in living conditions, healthcare, and mental health services. Additionally, there have been ongoing discussions about the need to address systemic issues within the California prison system, including the impact of mass incarceration, racial disparities, and the over-reliance on punitive measures. In recent years, there have been initiatives aimed at reducing the inmate population and implementing restorative justice practices. These efforts recognize the importance of rehabilitation, community reintegration, and addressing the root causes of crime. The closure of San Quentin State Prison has been discussed as part of a broader plan to reassess the state's approach to incarceration and invest in alternative programs and facilities that prioritize rehabilitation and successful reintegration. San Quentin State Prison serves as a microcosm of the complexities and challenges inherent in the American criminal justice system. While efforts have been made to address issues related to overcrowding, rehabilitation, healthcare, and mental health services, there is still much work to be done. By continuing to advocate for reform and implementing evidence-based practices, San Quentin can contribute to a more equitable and effective criminal justice system that prioritizes both public safety and the rehabilitation and well-being of those who have been incarcerated. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.